You wake up, and nothing is wrong. No bad news, no crisis waiting for you, no clear reason to feel off. Your life, at least on the surface, is fine. You're functioning, you're moving forward, you're doing what you're supposed to do. And yet, there's this quiet feeling you can't ignore. It's not sadness. It's not stress. It's something harder to explain. A kind of emptiness that sits in the background of everything. You go through your day normally. You talk to people. You respond. You even laugh sometimes. But internally, something feels distant. Like you're slightly disconnected from your own life. Almost like you're watching it instead of living it. And the strange part is, you can't point to a single reason why. Which makes it even more frustrating. Because when something is clearly wrong, at least you know what to fix. But when everything seems fine, and you still feel empty, it starts to feel like the problem is you. But what if it isn't? What if this feeling isn't a flaw, but a signal? Because this kind of emptiness tends to show up in people who have learned how to function, no matter what. People who don't easily fall apart. People who push through things instead of sitting with them. People who have trained themselves to keep going, even when something inside them feels off. From the outside, these people look stable, sometimes even strong. But internally, there's a different experience. Because when you become good at suppressing what you feel, you don't just suppress the negative emotions. You slowly disconnect from all of them. And at first, that feels like control. You don't get overwhelmed easily. You don't react emotionally. You stay composed. But over time, that control comes at a cost. Because emotions are not something you can selectively turn off. When you shut down pain, you also reduce your ability to feel joy. When you ignore stress, you also disconnect from excitement. And when that happens slowly, over time, you don't notice the shift immediately. Life just starts to feel flatter, less engaging, less real. And eventually, that flatness turns into emptiness. Not because your life lacks meaning, but because you've lost connection with the part of yourself that feels it. There's also another layer to this that most people overlook. Exhaustion. Not physical exhaustion, but emotional exhaustion. The kind that builds quietly, from holding things in, from constantly managing your internal state, from always being fine, even when you're not. When you don't express what you feel, it doesn't disappear. It accumulates. And eventually, your mind does something protective. It numbs you, not as a punishment, but as a way to give you relief. Because feeling everything all the time becomes too much. So instead, you feel less. But that less doesn't only apply to stress or pressure. It applies to everything, which is why things that used to excite you don't hit the same way anymore. Why moments that should feel meaningful feel distant. Why even when life is objectively okay, it doesn't feel like it. And the natural reaction is to try and fix it. To distract yourself. To stay busy. To look for something external that will make the feeling go away. But emptiness doesn't respond to distraction. Because it's not caused by a lack of activity. It's caused by a lack of connection. And connection doesn't come from doing more. It comes from feeling more. Which is the one thing you may have been avoiding without realizing it. Because feeling, especially after a long period of disconnection, can be uncomfortable. It requires honesty. Honesty about what's actually going on inside you. Not what you think you should feel. Not what makes sense logically. But what is genuinely there. And that's not always easy. Because once you start paying attention, you may notice things you've been ignoring. Stress you minimized. Pressure you normalized. Emotions you pushed aside because you didn't have time to deal with them. But that awareness is where reconnection begins. Not instantly. Not dramatically. But slowly. You start noticing small shifts. Moments that feel slightly more real. Conversations that feel a little deeper. Silence that doesn't feel as empty as before. And over time, that emptiness starts to change. Not because your life suddenly became different, but because you reconnected with the part of yourself that experiences it. So maybe the real question isn't, why do I feel empty when everything is fine? Maybe it's, what have I been feeling that I never allowed myself to fully experience?